You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Well, hello. Welcome to Safety Wars. Monday, August 4th, 2024. A lot has happened. We're going to be getting a little bit into politics, only because it involves the Department of Labor and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is your warning. Jim, why do you do warnings here all the time? It is what it is. If you're watching on the video streams, you see that we are a little bit of a different setup here. I'm going to have to work off my laptop here tonight to get... Monday's my travel day, with this stuff. I'm broadcasting out of our usual hotel room. Did not get around to doing things this weekend. Let me explain something. This weekend, what did we learn? What did my family learn? More specifically, capacity and resilience. 2 things with safety. Well, what do you mean, Jim? Well, that's all I will say. What is safety? I was having this conversation with a old friend today. Oh, and by the way, just to let you know, we do, just like pretty much everybody else on this network, we do human and organizational performance consulting here. So For example, there are certain companies out there, host employers or general contractors, that are now requiring human organizational performance training for all their people and plans and things of that nature. So we were talking about that. We do that here, right? 845-269-5772. Give us a call, and you can work with us too. Now, last, I guess it was Thursday, Friday morning, this story hit about the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and specifically the head of it. Let me get you the article, and of course, here you go. Here you go. And this is from CNN, that conservative rag, CNN, right? People say, well, you're that. Well, no, I use sources from all over. President Trump claimed without evidence that the massive revisions to the latest jobs report, it was like 258,000, 253,000, something like that, accused one of the top overseers of government statistics of cooking the books in a vendetta against his presidency. This is CNN, not Jimmy Posel. In my opinion, quote, in my opinion, job numbers were rigged in order to make the Republicans and me look bad, Trump said in a message on Truth Social on Friday. As a result, he fired Dr. Erica McEntarfer, the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Trump, in a message posted to Truth Social Sunday, incorrectly claimed McEntarfer, had the biggest miscalculations in 50 years. The fact revisions, the revision that the BLS made to recent job reports were neither historic nor evidence of corruption. What is the BLS? Established in 1884, the BLS is an independently operated body within the U.S. Department of Labor. The Labor Secretary, a member of the President's cabinet, has oversight of the BLS, but it is run by a Senate-appointed commissioner. The BLS collects data on a number of key economic concerns and produces critical reports on a regular basis. These include data on prices, inflation, productivity, spending, pay, workplace injuries, employment, and unemployment. So these statistics that they're talking about here are done on, I believe it's called a household survey, done every month, 60,000 people, collected by the U.S. Census Bureau. More than 2,000 people work for the BLS, including a number of professional economists and survey takers who regularly contact businesses and employees. Economists analyze the data and produce reports for the public and the government. BLS collects jobs data in two separate ways. The first is done by old-fashioned door knocking. Survey takers go home to home throughout the country. I never had one of these people in my neighborhood. I'm not saying they didn't do it, but first we're doing that. Survey taker, right? Second survey, known as the Current Employment Statistics, CES survey, that's what it's called, not the other one I said, is collected from thousands of businesses and government agencies. Through an automated data transfer by law. Participation in the CES survey is voluntary, but state laws in New Mexico, Oregon, South Carolina require businesses to produce data for the survey. So what I got into a discussion with a friend of many, many years. He said, well, you shouldn't be making accusations. I said, it sounds to me, and this is my hunch, I'm not accusing anyone, that when you have this big of, you're watching the BLS data. We've talked about it on this radio show multiple times, right? So it goes this way, downward, this way, then upward, and then downward, and then upward, blah, blah, blah. But never do we see this big of a correction, right? So it's a problem. The BLS prepared the data for monthly report by estimating America's employment, hours worked, and earnings. To extrapolate the data for the entire country, BLS economists add in some educated guesswork based on seasonal hiring trends. The BLS also smooths out the data with calculations known as seasonal adjustments to avoid huge spikes and dips. Every month, typically on the first Friday, we cover it here on this show, the BLS produces its employment situation summary known as the U.S. jobs report. The report is generated from two surveys. The household survey provides demographic data and the unemployment rate. The businesses survey provides data on pay, hours worked, and number of jobs in the U.S. economy added or subtracted. Right? Why is it that data revised? The BLS considers its initial job reports to be preliminary when they are first published. That makes sense, the first day of the month, because some respondents failed to report their payroll data by BLS's deadline. Low survey responses can make the report more challenging to estimate. The BLS continues to collect data on payroll as it's reported. The data are also revised because of seasonal adjustments. Were the recent revisions abnormal? The July report issued Friday included revisions for May and June that were historically large, but they were not unprecedented. May's jobs total was revised lower to 19,000, down from 139,000. For the June jobs total, the BLS on Friday said the U.S. economy added 14,000 jobs, down from 147,000. So here we're dealing with a 153,000 person revision. All right. And it goes into the article, a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, this is what it comes down to. Right. It goes into the article is very good with this. Right. What are we going to do with it? I'm sorry. My hunch is that I'm not saying this person who was fired was leading some kind of conspiracy, but I think something went wrong. If Jimmy was running the things, which I'm not, I probably would not have fired the person. I would have done an investigation first to find out exactly where the failure was. There's been some speculation that because of the doji cuts earlier this year, that we do not have the intellectual firepower needed to oversee this, because there are some voluntary commissions, some not so voluntary from my understanding, that were eliminated. Now, someone said, look, you have to call this a hunch. You can't really say that there was fraud. Okay, I suspect fraud is a hunch. Because it says here, historic revision. What was the source of that revision? I think we're entitled to know. Why are we entitled to know? This may be, I tell you what, this might be the biggest thing to happen this year. This is what happened on Thursday going into Friday. Why is that? All of our financial stuff is based on these numbers. We are in negotiations in Congress for the 2026 to 2005 to 2026 budget. New fiscal year, right? I believe fiscal year 2026 starts on October 1st. We are in negotiations. And as I noted way back when I was in undergrad school, why is it that all of this news comes out around budget time? Whether it's NASA with weather data or the NOAA with weather data back in the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s, or some other stuff. Why is this coming out now? Why was this now? Pattern of behavior. Could it be coincidence? Definitely, but it seems like whenever these things are being debated, budgets and everything, this kind of stuff happens. Now, what's the solution to the problem? Watch what the solution to the problem is going to be. The solution to the problem is going to be send us more money. Because that's the solution to all problems. Send more money. We don't have enough money. We don't have more capacity. We have to hire more people. Now, I spoke to a statistician today. She won't go on the record, but she is a well-known statistician that I have known for many, many, many years. Considered a member of my extended family. We disagree politically, usually. But, family, you look beyond that. And she says to me, I said, what's your thinking? She says, I probably would have just fired the person because that person probably might be, she said probably or might be, putting up a smoke screen for the people who are responsible for the mistake. This is corporate thinking. As well, yeah, okay. No, Trump is a billionaire, so maybe he knows a little bit more than Jimmy on how to manage these things. But guess, right, I wouldn't have gotten rid of the person. I would have wanted to know what was going on or let her resign. So, according to her, right, my friend, this data is all open source. Often, statisticians in training or people who are doing data mining or data engineering use this data for modeling, for class projects, for master's theses, for PhDs. For some of them, just when they're out of work, it's going to be for practice on this. So, for example, you're a data engineer, you have to have a portfolio much like a artist or a musician. You have to have a portfolio and everything. And when you're going for a job, what have you done? Well, here, I data mined this. I data engineered this. I did this with it, right? And here it is, blah, blah, blah. And they do whatever it is they do with that. And based on what her information is, based on looking at the data and being in the statistician's world, a lot of this data, as it says here in this article, is, they have to guess a little bit. There are a lot of limitations in this data. And they often, once they get an established, and this sounds familiar if you're a safety professional, once they have an established procedure, they don't like to deviate from it. And this might be part of the things. Maybe these commissions that they're saying, all these other people that are not working there anymore, were the ones saying, hey, look, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps they weren't. We don't know at this point. But I tell you what, this is, and she says, and there were a lot of limitations, and can this foreseeably happen in an honest way? Absolutely. An honest mistake, things were wrong. But they're, in her world, they've been talking about this. This really isn't, again, you're going to have defenders, the administration. You're not going to have defenders. I'm going to call balls and strikes. I think this whole thing is suspect. There needs to be a congressional investigation. The only problem is I don't think there's anybody in Congress that could go in and investigate this. Because I tell you what, my friend, she's got like a Marilyn Vos Savant level of intelligence on the IQ points. Very intelligent. And most of the statisticians that I have met that are reputable over the years, I tell you what, it's like, most of us safety people, when you take the CSV, CIH, and CHMM exam, some of the other ones, we're like the single A people, right, in baseball, right? Single and double A, maybe, right? These people are the major leaguers. You can't put a finger to them. You can't, right? So you need a statistician to actually understand this data and the significance of it is what this is. So that's where I'm going to go. That's our opening for tonight with this. I think this is probably the most important thing we have going on. And we're going to go to our first commercial break here, and we'll come back to you in a minute.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
The safety war has begun. The risks are out there, lurking in every corner of the workplace, threatening our most valuable asset, our people. But we have a plan. Led by Jim Pozell, we are the last line of defense in this battle against danger and negligence. We will fight for safety, for compliance, for the right of every worker to return home unscathed. Join us on this journey through the unknown, where vigilance is our weapon and knowledge is our shield. This is Safety Wars, our fight, our duty, our mission. Heard regularly on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars? Visit us at safetywars.com.
So if you watched the last week's Star Trek episode, the Star Trek Strange New Worlds, episode 4, they did a takeoff on the original series, a parody of sorts. And no, they rewrote the opening to Star Trek, the original series. And by the way, that promo you just heard, that was inspired by it, but I got them beat by a couple of weeks on the broadcasting end because I, changed that over. So again, as usual, you listen here, you're a couple of weeks ahead of the curve. Okay, what do you want to talk about tonight? Let me point out some other things. You say, well, Jim, the statistics. Let's look at our own statistics here in the safety world. We're told that we have 5,000 workplace fatalities plus or minus per year. Some years it's up, some years it's down. When you go in and you dig into the data, right, those are the TRIR number. The OSHA 300 numbers that we have to submit as employers every year. Right, that's what that's based on, and maybe a couple of other sources. According to OSHA and their models, the number is closer, and this is a model because it's very difficult to estimate these things, is closer to 50,000 workplace deaths just from chemical, biological, radiological, those kinds of exposures, and I'll call them industrial hygiene exposures. Not Jimmy's numbers, OSHA's numbers. Added to the 5,000, we're up to 55,000 workplace injuries, illnesses, where people die every year. The problem is that 50,000 number is spread out over the person's life. So they'll be getting primarily cancer, but there are other illnesses also that you may not be able to track with that. So what am I saying? OSHA is off by 50,000 by a factor of 11. Their numbers, not Jimmy's numbers. They don't look at it that way, but I'm looking at the numbers here. So therefore, my question is this. If we have 10 times the number of people, I know there's a lot of numbers there, 10 times the number of people dying from workplace injuries in the long term, why are we concentrating on slips, trips, and falls? Why? Because those are easier to measure. When that's not the primary thing. You know, statistics are a difficult thing sometimes. Statistics are bad. Here. Now you can say, well, Jim, and there's arguments against the model and then for the model. This is right on their website. It was on their website last night when I looked it up. Question for you. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing this? Let's go with some of it, right? So now let's go into some of the other safety news here. We're at 22 minutes into the show. Here, police nationwide are embracing a new first responder, drones. And this is an article from the Washington Post. In dozens of U.S. cities, next time you call 911 or 911, a drone might show up before an officer does. The technology behind that, drone as first responder, or DFR, has skyrocketed in popularity among police departments nationwide since the FAA streamlined the process for agencies to adopt the program this spring. While it could previously take up to a year to get approval, it now takes just days. Law enforcement and drone industry leaders praise the technology as life-saving with the potential to help authorities in situations ranging from missing persons cases to active shooter incidents. But critics worry the program's encouraging mass surveillance violating the public's privacy. So one person that I used to work with in politics was followed home, and this is about 5 years ago, by a drone. And apparently it was the U.S. government's drone. Actually, more than that. It was in 2015, 2014, somewhere in that time frame. Followed home. So, he said it was a little bit freaky. DFRs serve as an eye-in-the-sky, police say, streaming footage to officers before they enter a potentially dangerous situation. One of the hardest aspects of policing is that in calls for service, we don't have crystal balls. We do not know what we are going into. I mean, get used to it, folks. It's here. They do use this on safety audits now, the drones, for certain things. For initial assessments. They've been using them for many years. But let's remember, it's not something you go and order off the internet and then you use. You need a license for this to use this at work. This is from AFP. AFP. I don't know what that stands for, but here you go. Thomas Urbane. AI search pushing an already weakened media ecosystem to the brink. Generative artificial intelligence assistants like ChatGPT are cutting into traditional online search traffic. This is true. We often use these now as search engines like Google, depriving news sites of visitors and impacting the advertising revenue they desperately need and a crushing blow to an industry already fighting for survival. The next 3 or 4 years will be incredibly challenging for publishers everywhere, and no one is immune from the AI summary storm gathering on the horizon. Publishers need to build their own shelters or risk being swept away. I tell you what, I see these stories, and I don't even know, especially on the internet, right, on social media, I don't know if they're true or not anymore. Here we go. The rise of AI tools that write about you when you die. 2 days after Jeff Fargo's mother died, this is from Drew Harwell and the Washington Post. 2 days after Jeff Fargo's mother died, he lay in bed crying at home in Nevada and opened up his laptop to ChatGPT. Her friends had asked about an obituary, so for nearly an hour he typed out her life, that she had been single mom in a male-dominated world, that she never got the credit she was owed, and that she was loved. After a few seconds, the chatbot offered his condolences in a short message memorializing her as an avid golfer known for her kindness and love of dogs. After it was published in her community's newspaper, her friend said it captured her beautifully. I just emptied my soul into the prompt. I was mentally shot in a place where I could give my mom what she deserved. And this did it for me. Artificial intelligence tools are not just reshaping how we work, learn, and live. They're also changing what happens after we die. As families and funeral homes seek to help in creating tributes and eulogies to define a loved one's life. Tell you what, this is not a bad way of going about it for a lot of people. Everyone's not a professional writer or storyteller. Not like here, right? we've had, and I think I've been pretty open here, over the last 9 years, unfortunately, a lot of experience in writing these obituaries. And I tell you, it's sometimes a cathartic process, sometimes a painful process. I've seen it go both ways, and sometimes they turn out really well. Sometimes they could be better, but, with that. And, the best thing you could do, my opinion, is to have if you have a chronic illness or anything like that, to go. And I spoke to a friend of the program who is a Catholic priest on this. And I said to him, is it vanity for us, right? For if you're going to die, or you're a planner, right? President's plan, heads of state's plan, politicians' plan, corporate executives' plan. How about the average person? Is it vanity to go out and write a eulogy for yourself, or have someone else write the eulogy for you with you? Is it wrong to have everything planned out? And what my friend, the Catholic priest, said, Jimmy, not a problem. That the clergy, especially if you're not a regular church goer, or maybe you are, and the church, the priest doesn't know you, because that happens sometimes where your priest or your minister or clergy may be on vacation. You have to get a supply person in there. Not a bad idea. So, for example, I knew, and I talked about it with my father when he passed, before he passed away. Hey, Dad, what would you like to be in in the sermon and in your service? And we talked about it. So I made some choices, and it was the tunes that he wanted. It didn't matter what the words were, because in like a lot of churches, it's the same tune for many different hymns. So we opened up with and again, the organist, right, and the minister, my pastor, great guy, he says, he said, I get tired. It's a nice psalm, pretty psalm, and I get tired of Beautiful Savior, okay? And the other one is Amazing Grace. It's like at every funeral. And it's like fatigue. So I said, I understand it. I said, my father was the same way. I said, but we have it picked out already. So we opened up with the Austrian, which is the German national anthem, if you're familiar with the tune, except there's a different words for church. And then the next one was one that's fallen a little bit out of favor, but it's still out there, traditional, Onward Christian Soldiers. And the final one that we had on the way out, because there's 3 hymns in the Lutheran liturgy for a funeral service, was the tune, Slain Be Thou My Vision, I believe it was. But Slain was the tune, because that's what was my father, big Western fan. So he ended up, right, that was in all the old spaghetti Westerns back in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. That was in everyone, because consequently, from the information I have, the copyright wasn't copyrighted so much. So they were able to use that tune. So that's what it was. So, and it worked out well. Now, this person here, in the article, they're talking about AI writing the obituary and it coming out nice. I said, that's an ethical use of AI as long as what's in there is true. With that, I know one obituary. The person had a little bit of a sense of humor like me. And he went out and when he figured out you could go on PowerPoint and make all these different diplomas, he went out and got these like real nice parchment and everything. And he, in his office, we all knew that this is all baloney. In his office, he had all these diplomas from like Harvard, Yale, and everything else, all right, in there. All these certificates. He never put them on his resume, never really advertised to anybody that, didn't use them fraudulently, but he would have it as a joke almost. So he passed away, and it was the family was very distraught. So they had brought in a professional to write this obituary, and they said, well, go in his office, see what you have in there, this is how he was, blah, blah, blah. And it was a high-profile, very high-profile person he was locally. That obituary, that obituary was hysterical. Because all of these diplomas that he had on the wall, these fake diplomas, ended up in the obituary. And it turned into not an obituary. It turned into like a news article. Well, and I'm not going to mention the person's name, but it was like a news article. And he was, he went to Harvard School of Public Health. He went here. He had degrees. He was a PhD. He had this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, man, this guy is probably laughing away in heaven right now on this whole thing. Here, that he pranked the entire world on this. And then I believe a couple of days later, they issued a retraction, but it was just hysterical. But nobody reads the retraction. They read the original. So it was pretty funny there. But anyway, I digress. But all these news articles, I mean, for the obituary I could see, but all the original news articles, everything is AI. A lot of this stuff is AI. Here from the Associated Press, the vast majority of U.S. adults are stressed about grocery costs. Oh, yeah. Those are, there's not a lot of pork in a lot of those supermarkets anymore, is there? People are buying that pork. People are buying that, there's beef shortage and everything, hey, I got to be an expert on how to make pork because it's so, now they have a lot of pork. Okay, well, guess what? We're going to make pork. Became an expert at it. I mean, I have recipes like you wouldn't believe. It's delicious. The vast majority of U.S. adults are at least somewhat stressed over the cost of groceries, a new poll finds. As prices continue to rise and concerns about the impact of President Donald Trump's tariffs remain widespread. About half Americans say that the cost of groceries is a major source of stress in their life right now, while 33% say it is a minor source of stress, according to the poll. I tell you what, eating out is a lot of money. So what we try to do is we cook as much as possible at home. I mean, if we want to have, I tell you what, my son, God bless him, cooking is his hobby. 13 years old, cooks like you wouldn't believe. Too shy to go on the Food Network, though. But, it's a pretty darn good cook. And my wife, phenomenal cook. Me, I know how to make certain things. I'm thinking about selling my recipes here for some, got to make money somehow. So some people are going into debt for this. I mean, what's your situation? Are you cutting back on this stuff? I don't know. And we're not going to do that story. Hold on. All right. So this is from the Financial Times. I believe it's London. Here, poorest U.S. workers hit hardest by slowing wage growth. Trend adds to pressure on Donald Trump over inequality as he threatens to undermine reliability of economic data. This is going back to what we were talking about before. America's lowest paid workers are suffering a sharper slowdown in wage growth than their richer peers, adding to the pressure on Donald Trump over inequality as he threatens to undermine the reliability of U.S. economic data. Data from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta shows wage growth for the lowest paid quartile, meaning lowest 25% of workers, people earning roughly less than $806 a week, slowed to an annual rate of 3.7% in June, down from a peak of 7.5% in late 2022, when post-pandemic labor shortages in industries such as hospitality were most acute. With that, And it goes on and on and on. So, again, in his first term, President Trump used an America First economic agenda to deliver historic working class prosperity, the first reduction in wealth and income inequality in decades. In his term, President Trump is implementing and this is according to Kush Desai, a White House spokesman, Trump is implementing the very same policy, a mix of deregulation, fair trade, and pro-growth tax cuts. So they're just saying, wait. How much longer are we going to wait? Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, will announce expedited plans this week to build a nuclear reactor on the moon. The first major action by the former Fox News host as the interim NASA administrator. NASA has discussed building a reactor on the lunar surface, but this would set Sean Duffy would set a more definitive timeline, according to documents obtained by Politico, and come just as the agency faces a massive budget cut. The move also underscores how Duffy, who faced pushback from lawmakers about handling two jobs, meaning he's a DOT guy, also wants to play a role in NASA policymaking. It's about winning the second space race that a NASA senior official granted anonymity to discuss the documents ahead of their wider release. President Trump named Duffy as interim administrator in July after abruptly withdrawing the nomination of billionaire Jared Isaacman amid a spat with the nominee's ally, Elon Musk. Duffy also offered a directive to more quickly replace ISS, another NASA goal. The two moves could help accelerate U.S. efforts to reach the moon and Mars, a goal that China is also pursuing. So what are we looking at here? 2030. Okay, we'll see. Guys, we're out of money. Here we have, this is from August 4th. Trapped passengers panic as fire breaks out on a major New York City area subway. Can I add one other thing before we get there? There was an earthquake over in Hasbrook Heights area, and I'm still getting phone calls from family members there. That was on Saturday, Friday nights, I believe, so going into Saturday. I don't know. What the hell's going on with all these earthquakes now? Earthquakes are not a alien concept in New York, New Jersey area. They happen, except it's now 3. Right? A fire broke out on a PATH commuter train in New Jersey on Monday with shocking video showing the cars filling with smoke as trapped passengers frantically tried to escape. The fire began around 6 a.m. at the Newport PATH station in Jersey City, which I'm familiar with. Port Authority officials said the flames ignited under one of the eastbound train cars. 13 people were treated for smoke inhalation at the scene, with 9 taken to local hospitals. Video of the scary incident shows passengers begging to be let out of smoke-filled cars as the fire raged on the platform. One passenger hearing a loud explosion, while another wrote on X that the cart before me was literally in flames. Wow. Drivers going 1 mile per hour below the speed limit could face jail under state law. My wife wants this done in New York, believe me. The new driving laws are getting put in place in Louisiana, affecting phone use, left lane driving, a.k.a. left lane Dick, left lane Richard, window tinting, and insurance requirements. A new set of driving laws has imposed stricter restrictions on drivers in Louisiana, including penalties for left lane drivers traveling at 1 mile an hour under the speed. So you got to be left lane driving 1 mile under the speed limit. Starting August 1st, the Louisiana drivers will see a number of new laws put into place affecting phone use, left lane driving, window tinting, and insurance requirements. Drivers will no longer be permitted to hold or use a phone by hand while driving, including texting, social media, manually scrolling maps, or unless the device is completely hands-free, or sexting. They're not allowed to do that. I made that one up. This means the threshold has been lowered from 10 miles an hour to just 1 mile per hour below the speed limit. Details are included in Act 24 from this year's legislative sessions, which states the third offense punishment as a fine of $350 for a third subsequent offense within a 12-month period, and the first offense or imprisonment for not more than 30 days or both. Wow. My wife would definitely be, that's too lenient on him. They're giving out warnings until January 1st, and okay, we'll see what happens. California wildfire explodes through over 65,000 acres, shuts down the highway. We're going to talk about air quality again this week. Wildfires started Friday, exploded over the weekend in Central California. I mean, we're getting fire reports right now. Burning over 65,000 acres, according to CAL FIRE, with incoming warm weather, possibly making it even harder to fight the blaze. Okay. And what else? We're going through this. We already talked about that. Okay. So we have not talked about Department of Labor news, and we'll probably go into it tomorrow also. Here we go. On July 28th, U.S. Department of Labor has obtained a consent judgment in federal court against an Alabama poultry there you go. Processor, after federal investigation finds children working in hazardous occupations. U.S. Department of Labor has obtained a consent judgment in federal court against an Alabama poultry processor, requiring them to pay $385,000 in civil money penalties for child labor law violations and barring the employer from any future child labor violations. I've never understood that, because you're not allowed to do them in the first place. Why would you say you're not allowed to do them from here? What, we were allowing them before? I don't know. You explain that one to me. The agreement comes after the department's Wage and Hour Division found Mac Jack Poultry AL LLC violated several of the child labor provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act, including illegally employing minors, some as young as 13 years old. The employer permitted other minors to perform activities deemed hazardous and forbidden under federal law, such as operating a forklift, deboning and eviscerating poultry, and working on the kill floor. Investigators also discovered Marjack employed workers between 14 and 15-year-old in occupations prohibited by law. Right, one of them being legal work outside of legally allowed hours and on overnight shifts. These findings result in the employer agreeing to pay $385,000 in civil money penalties. With that, so and it has a whole list of things here for them, what they need to do, including hiring a third-party consultant. Anyway, that's what we have here tonight, and we're going to wrap it up. And I think this is not new information. I have the other press release from Secretary Chavez DeRemer, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. For Safety Wars and Safety FM, this is Jim Polzel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.